Yoso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Suakato Ye Dhammo Supatipano Yasa Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Dhammayang Bhagavantang Sadhammang Sasangang Imehi Sakare Hiyatarahang Aropite Hiyapipujayama Sadhuno Bante Bhagava Parinibbatopi Pachima Janata Nukampamanasa Ime Sakare Dugata Panakala Bhute Patiganhatu Amhakang Dikaratang Hitaya Sukhaya Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddha Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharana Sampano Sugato Lokavitu Anuttaro Purissa Dhammasarati Sata Deva Manu Sanang Buddho Bhagava Dhammahang Bhagavantang Abhipujayami Dhammahang Bhagavantang Sirasa Namami Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Vedita Vinyuhi Tamaha dhammang abhipujayami Dhammahang dhammang sirasa namami Supatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Ujjapatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Yaya patipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Samichi patipano bhagavato sawaka sangho Yadidang chatari purisa yugani Atta purisa pugala Esa bhagavato sawaka sangho Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakineyo Anjali karaniyo Anutarang punya Ketang lokasa Dhammahang sangham abhipujayami Dhammahang sangham sirasa namami This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be happy. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading our upwards to the skies, and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to false views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Questions? Well, that's good. There's not many questions today, because they have never been added to them. Thank you for your restraint. So here we go. Collecting the books first. Excellent. Here comes the first question. First question here. For breathing meditation, we usually highlight natural breathing. How about walking meditation? Do we highlight natural walking speed or slow walking? I did mention that if you do slow walking, and especially when somebody sees you, especially slow walking, then sometimes think that we've been invaded by zombies. Remember, that's what we call that? Zombie walking meditation, because zombies walk very slowly. I haven't seen any zombie films or movies. Do people who are zombies walk slower than ordinary walking meditation, or just about the same speed?
About the same speed.
About the same speed, okay. No, just do a natural walking meditation, but sometimes your natural walking meditation is slow, sometimes it's fast. So just let the body decide what it wants to do and how it needs to move so it's comfortable for you and you can have good mindfulness. Doesn't have to be fast, doesn't have to be slow. Just see how the body feels. I must say though, that if ever as a monk you have my own walking meditation path outside my hut next to my cave, and I don't know if you've probably never seen me up there because I only do the walking meditation kind of in just in private. But when I do the walking meditation, sometimes if I feel unusually sleepy, I walk fast. If you walk fast, it brings up some energy. Sometimes if you have some stomach ache, then walking fast I find very useful, very helpful. And so it really depends on how you feel. And then just experiment. Even like breathing. If I'm out of breath, that's like even with the breathing. You don't always have to do it one particular way. Find out what is the best way for you. And one of the best ways of doing the breathing meditation, sometimes people just breathe ordinary and they get a bit bored. And I ask them, why not do things like backwards breath meditation. Have you tried backwards breath meditation before? Anyone? No? Okay, I will now teach backwards breath meditation. Now, when I say go, close your eyes and breathe in and out 3 times, just natural. Go. Just 3 breaths. Is that okay? Now, I can guarantee that you started by breathing in first. Now, when I say go, do 3 breaths, but start with the out breath 3 times, and on the 3rd in breath, then open your eyes. Okay? Go. Now, surprise, surprise, you will find if you breathe out first and then breathe in, it feels very, very different. You shouldn't be able to feel different, but when I tried that, I was quite surprised. So if you want to try doing backwards breath meditation, it's an original type of breath meditation developed here in Western Australia. Or you can even go even more interestingly and do 2 out breaths for every in breath in the meditation. What you're doing there is making it a little bit more interesting for yourself. So, but usually we don't really mess around too much with the breath meditation. I know that sometimes that we have those first 2 steps of breathing meditation in the Anapanasati Sutta. You're breathing in, you breathe in a long breath, then you breathe out a long breath. Breathe in a short breath, breathing out a short breath. You've read that before, haven't you? Haven't you? Okay, thank you. But sometimes that confused me. In doing the breath meditation, how long is the long breath? How short is the short breath? You know, you're supposed to measure it like 2 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever. And then I looked at my usual breath, my ordinary breath. It wasn't long, it wasn't short, it was kind of in between somewhere. So what am I supposed to do? This is not something, a stage you have to do, and then you do the first stage, and then you do the second stage. These are alternatives. If you're doing breath meditation, it gives you something extra to watch. You know you're breathing in and breathing out, but it's actually, is that a kind of a longish breath or a shortest breath? How long actually is it? How short is it? You don't have to kind of time it. It gives you a little bit more to watch. That makes sense? And there's also other ways, in Mahayana we don't encourage it here. There's a good reason for that. They sort of count the breaths. As they breathe in. And they use these little beats. The reason we don't hear because then when we're doing the breath meditation, click, 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 click. It can be quite disturbing. And then I decided to try and experiment. So instead of actually seeing if it was a long breath or a short breath, I breathe in and breathe out. Actually, as I breathe in, 1, breathe out 1. Breathe in 2, breathe out 2. Breathe in 3, breathe out 3. Breathe in 4, breathe out 4. Go up to 9. Because it was in Thailand. I already mentioned that 9 was the lucky number. Breathe in 9, breathe out 9. And then the next breath, breathe in 1, out 1, this time 1 to 8. in 2, out 2, in 3, out 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. Breathe in 8, out 8. Then breathe in 7, breathe out 7. Breathe in 1, breathe out 1, up to 7 this time. Remember, I was a physicist, and after leaving university, I got a job as a school teacher for 1 year teaching math. So I was a math nerd. And so because of that, I did all this counting. Breathing in 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, and then to 5, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, then 4, in 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, in 3, out 3, in 4, out 4, then to 3, in 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, in 3, out 3, and then to 2, in 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, then in 1, out 1. That was one whole cycle. And that was, I think, 45 breaths. All right, yeah. And so what it did, it made it a bit interesting. And it's also a great method to know if you're sleepy or not. Because in the morning when I did this in Thailand, I'd be noticing I'd start in 1, out 1, going up to 9, in 12, out 12, in 13, out 13. I'd lost count. You just weren't mindful enough. So that was sometimes the things which I did. But I thought that was not really that necessary for me. It was just a one way of counting, which you can do if you want to. But eventually, you just get to know your breathing. And you don't really need to count it. You just need to be in this present moment. And after a while, you don't just see, this is a in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. What happens, and this was the first read this in the Visuddhimagga. They say as you're watching something like the breath, it's a natural breath. You let the body do the breathing. You just do the watching. And as you're watching the breath come in and go out, they had this simile in this Visuddhimagga. It was like having a handsaw and sawing a piece of wood. You've got sort of bring the saw towards you, pushing it away, bring the saw towards you, like in, out. But afterwards, whoever wrote this little explanation was right on the ball. They'd obviously been practicing meditation themselves before they wrote it. Because as you focus in, all you start to do is to focus in on just that small area of the wood where the saw is touching. So all you actually see is just a couple of saw teeth touching a millimetre or two of the wood. So you don't really know when you're watching the breathing. It doesn't matter how mindful you are, you don't really know where the beginning of the in-breath, or the middle of the in-breath, or the end of the in-breath. You don't really know if you're in the beginning of the saw stroke, or the middle, or the end, because all the teeth look the same. And just say that particular piece of wood, it just looks the same. You don't want to try and remember by keeping the past and the future in mind. Just this moment is all you watch. And that means after a while that you're just breathing. And so you just know the breath right now. You don't know whether it's the beginning or the end of an in-breath. And you see that wonderful place where the in-breath stops and you pause. You're not just doing this on purpose again, it's just happening. And then you see the out-breath begin. As the breath starts to be exhaled, and when the last bit of out-breath finishes, then there's another pause. And there's just no one breathing in and breathing out. Not forced, not premeditated, not controlled. Just what the breath does. And the other thing about this is I like giving similes simply because when you understand the simile, people understand the mistakes they make in something like breath meditation. If you try and control it and make it happen, you always get very, very unsuccessful, tense and headaches. So this is the simile. Retreat's over, say you're back in Hong Kong, and somebody, a good friend, rings you up and says, "Hey, are you free this afternoon?" Would you like to come out for a cup of coffee? Did I tell this simile on the first day? Okay. Do you want to come out for a cup of coffee? And they went, oh yeah. You don't know this person too well. We said, yeah, okay. And they said, oh good. We're going to go to this coffee shop. I don't know if you like it or not, but I like it, so that's where we're going to go. And I don't know where you want to sit. I like sitting in the back, not out in the front, because I want to discuss about politics. Politics is really important, not your silly spiritual stuff. And because that's life and death. And it's also, I really like latte. I know you might not like latte, but that's what I'm having, so that's what you're having as well. And then you can have a muffin. I like muffins, so you can have one too. And I've only got 55 minutes, so that's how long we're going to stay. I'll see you there in a few minutes. And how would you react when this person invites you out for a cup of coffee? They tell you what you're going to drink, what you're going to eat, where you're going to sit, what you're going to talk about, for how long, and you don't have any choice. I know when I've told that story many times, I say, if that was me, I would say, oh yeah, I just remembered, I've got to have a dentist appointment. Emergency. So maybe next time. Would you like to go out with a control freak? So because you're a Buddhist and keeping precepts, you quickly take up your phone and ring the dentist and make an emergency appointment. Otherwise you're really deceiving them. And after you made the appointment, somebody else calls up. It's a really kind person. They said, oh, you just come back from Australia from a meditation retreat. That's marvelous. Now, would you like to have like a cup of tea or a cup of coffee somewhere? I know you last time, before you left, you told me about this amazing coffee which is given in this wonderful little restaurant in the back of Hong Kong somewhere. I'd love to try it. They want to come and drink your coffee, the coffee you like. And they also say, and you've just been doing some meditation in Buddhism. I hear it's really wonderful and amazing. I would like to know about it. And then they say, I don't know where you like to sit. Maybe you like to sit on the veranda, where the people are passing by. If that's where you like to sit, that's good enough for me. And what would you like to eat? Sometimes there's some really lovely croissants in that restaurant. So, is that so? And you say, oh yeah. Okay, I'll have something of those, but I'll pay for it all. Are you okay with that? And you say, oh yeah. So I'll see you there in 5 minutes. So get out your mobile phone and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. I don't need a dentist appointment. Can we cancel? And you turn up there, and you're sitting next to a person who's really kind to you, and who likes to drink, or just wants to experiment and drink what you like to drink, eat what you like to eat, talk about what you like to talk about, sit where you like to talk about. I didn't mention the time, did I? Because if you're sitting with a friend like that, the time flies by. Even though you've only got half an hour, you're sitting there for 2 hours, 3 hours, enjoying each other's company. That's the difference between sitting with a control freak and sitting with a friend. So what do you do if you do breath meditation? You sit down, and it said you have to sit full lotus. Okay, so no funny business, no chairs, not too many cushions. You sit full lotus, back straight, left hand over the right hand, not the right hand over the left hand. Okay, we're serious about this. And you watch the breath. Watch the breath go. No, just watch the breath. Go in, go out. I'm not saying what I'm telling you. I would never tell you to do that, but you tell yourself. Well, come on, let's do this properly. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. That's only the first stage. We've got 16 stages to go before enlightenment. So we haven't got all day, to get enlightened. Because we're running out of time in this retreat. We're already about halfway through it. So stop messing around. Stop moving this way, that, and stop thinking. Ajahn Brahm keeps on saying that you're thinking, have all these conversations, that really stops. So no thinking at all, okay? And if that's how you treat yourself when you're meditating, no wonder you can't stay very long in a meditation posture. You're hanging out with an enemy, you. And that's one thing which I kind of took me years to understand, and now that's how I explain it. How come you just want to meditate? Sit down and have a nice time. It's not an army camp. You're not being tortured. You just sit down there and enjoy it. And when you're staying with a good friend, you can stay for hours. Time flies by. And honestly, that's how I feel when I meditate. I'm with a good friend. Now, my mind and I have got a time to hang out together. And when I'm with my mind, I'm not being asked any questions, not being told what to do. I'm not being said, what's happening and what I have to prepare for tomorrow. I just sit down there and escape with my good friend, the breath. And we enjoy each other's company. I never tell the breath what to do. It knows what to do. It'll always come in and go out. And I just watch it and be its friend, be its partner. And we have a wonderful time together. We don't count the minutes. And we relax. And being with a good friend, relaxed and happy, there's no effort at all. It's just a beautiful, peaceful time together, my breath and I, enjoying each other's company. Because we've enjoyed each other's company for years, 50 years or more, as a monk. So when my breath and I say to me, hey, what are you up to? Shall we do some meditation together, just us two? Sit in my hut or my cave. I'll just watch you and you can just be with me for half an hour, I'll just say maybe half an hour, but it's always go over time, because we enjoy. That's how meditation on the breath works. I never tell my breath what to do. We just hang out together, that's all. Okay, next question. Oh no. There's only one question. Oh, come on, Ajahn Brahm. Dear Ajahn Brahm, how can we see what we see, hear what we hear, etc., such as in the Bahia story? While in real life, sometimes even before seeing, we almost have lots of illusion. In business, such as partnerships, when I know the other party is or might be not cooperating anymore, there are lots of fear of losing out or feeling of getting hurt. How can I get over this feeling? Okay, first of all, that bias in the scene there be just the scene. And an example of that is that I think you all know by now the hill on which we live. Kingsby Drive. It's about, here it's 2.83 kilometers from the Southwest Highway to the gate at Jhana Grove. That's why our number is 283. It's how many 10 meters? It's 2.83 kilometers. Bodhinyana is, what is that again? 216? Okay, that means it's 2.16 kilometers from the highway. That's all it is. It's a small hill. And so one day, and you wouldn't believe how hard this was to do. That I came back early, from some excursion outside, and I said, well, there's plenty of time, to my driver, there's plenty of time. Can I please walk up the hill this morning? It's a beautiful day, I've got no appointments, and I get up the hill in time for lunch. I want to walk up the hill today. Now, honestly, there's actually one of my drivers up the back there in the corner, Felix, a very good driver, and It's so hard to do, to get freedom, to get out of the car and just walk. Oh, no, we don't want to get you in trouble. We don't want you to slip over or to, fall down the hill or something. And the reason for that is because they know we won't get into trouble, but they'll get really blamed afterwards. If they let me out of the car and suddenly there's a rainstorm and I get soaking, I'm not the one that gets bothered or blamed. It's poor Felix in the corner over there. Why'd you let him out of the car? You've got to protect him. He's an asset. They won't let me do anything. So anyway, this was some time ago. So I walked up that hill for the first time in 7 years. I counted it back, and this was 7 years ago I walked up the hill the last time. And when I walked up the hill, it was an amazing experience. I saw that hillside like I'd never seen it for years. Before I'd just seen it through the window of not a speeding car, but a car going 40, 50 kilometers an hour. When I walked, I was going much slower. And I looked in the valley, and the grass was much greener than I'd ever seen before. And not just much greener, I could see individual blades of grass and rocks and the trees and a few saplings growing up. I saw so much more detail. And every colour I saw was richer. Saw more colour. And I thought, what's going on? Have they put some sort of drug in my tea that morning or something? Why could I see so much more? And I was so amazed, I stopped and stood still. I could do that now because I was by myself just walking gently up that hill. And when I stopped and stared, you could see so much more. The grass, you could really see just how they were all distributed on the hillside and how amazingly green they were. Some big ones, some small ones, some weeds. And what I do remember is seeing the bark on the trees growing up on that hillside and just seeing the texture, the shape of the bark. And it all looked so amazingly intricate and beautiful. And again, it was, why haven't I seen this for years? And the answer was very simple. When I was looking through the window of the car, the light came through the glass. It was slightly distorted because sometimes the good Anagarikas work so hard that they don't have enough time to wash the windows. I don't mind. But anyhow, so the windows were a bit dirty, and so the windows were a bit dirty, and also when it was going through the car and the car was actually moving reasonably fast, the light hit the retina and it didn't have enough time to form a proper image. I remember even as teaching school kids about sight, there's a little chemical reaction on the back of the eye. And it's just like developing film in the old days. It takes a while for the chemicals to interact and change, and the colour green to be actually produced. And usually if you're going through the window of a car, you see a new image so quickly that the first image doesn't properly form. So it feels like washed out colours, and there's no real detail. And when I started walking, the colours had more time to form, and you could see more details in that landscape. But when I was totally still, wow, that really stood out. And that taught me a lot about how insight works in meditation. When you're looking at something and you're going fast, the truth doesn't have enough time to be developed. And the colours of life are always sort of not full. When you stop and just stare, and you really know how to stare, you just see, you're not moving, and the colours get more and more rich. And you see more and more detail. And that becomes beautiful. And that's, I always remember, was, how I understood what this mindfulness can do. It's not just ordinary mindfulness, it's learning how to be still and not move. Not being in a car watching, but just with your eyes just watching. Good example, I keep on teaching this. Look at the bamboo planks in front of you. You first look at them and they're just bamboo. But then after a while you look at them. It's amazing, different shades of the yellows and the browns, and how they all interact. And if you stop thinking, but just look, without moving, it soon becomes so incredibly beautiful. It's so incredibly beautiful, it's joyful to watch. When I was just starting meditating, I didn't know what I was up to, but I remember quite a few times. I remember during the rainy season in Thailand, you had to walk inside the hall because it was pelting down with rain outside. And they had an old concrete floor to that hall, made by the villagers. And I remember just walking backwards and forwards, putting my gaze at body length in front of me. And after a little while, you got so still, I had to stop. Because a piece of concrete in front of me looked like a work of art. I'm not exaggerating. And I looked at it and said, what's going on in my head? And then I looked at that concrete and the different shades, of the black or the white, the grey of the concrete. And it wasn't level because this was done by villagers, it had contours to them. I thought that was done by Michelangelo or something. It was gorgeous. And I really did think because I didn't know what was going on, I should get villagers to cut that piece out and send it to the Tate Gallery in London. To me, it did really look like a work of art. And I thought, why was this happening? Because my mind was reasonably still. And because it was still, all the colours were being absorbed. And you could see every colour richly, not washed out, but rich, a deep shade of grey. The contours, it's amazing just how the highs and the little valleys could stand out. And only when you are still and give it time. And I didn't need to force myself. You had to push yourself to move away. There's other monks behind you. And this was how I learned about how mindfulness can be so amazing and satisfying and beautiful. You don't need to actually you can't see that if you've been used to electronic equipment. Electronic equipment moves so fast. That was one of the first things after being a monk in Thailand for a long time. My mother said, I hadn't been to see her for about 7 years, another 7 again. 7 years. So she said, it's about time you came and sort of popped in. So I went there to London. And I just remember seeing through an open door a TV set. And of course I hadn't watched TV for 7 years. Being in the forests of Thailand. And I saw it, and wow, those were colours, they were moving so fast. And I couldn't believe it. Bang, 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 bang. If you can imagine having been in the forest for 7 years and then seeing these things, that was headache producing, moving way too fast. And I didn't need that, because when things were going slowly, you saw so much more. It was so much deeper and so much more beautiful. Anyway, how can we see what we see, hear what we hear? By being still, not moving so fast. And then we can really see what it is. And everything turns out to be beautiful. That was a strange thing. Because I thought, I must be doing something wrong. I thought, I'm a monk, I'm supposed to be investigating or seeing dukkha. And what I was seeing, wow, I've never seen something that beautiful before in the stillness. You go, like this evening, is it a clear sky tonight? If it is, please don't just walk back to your hut or your cottage. Have a look at the stars at night. They're gorgeous. When you're still, they really do blow your mind. And yeah, it wasn't raining. There was a bit of rain, but I don't know how the stupas are. But sometimes if you can, just go up to the stupa and just lay on your back and gaze at the Milky Way. That really is beautiful. Anyway, that's how you see what we see. We don't delude and we don't mess up life by keeping on moving to the next thing. And in the business in partnerships, if you are so wise, you don't worry about other people. Like me, for example, I'm a Buddhist monk. I'm the abbot of this monastery. Ajahn is coming back in a day or two. Am I scared? He might take over? No way. If he wants to take over, yeah, please, come on. So there's no competition with being a Buddhist. So the more people who teach really good Dhamma, the better. So it's the same with, we don't think about competition. You like competition. It's not competition as well, it's assistance. Okay, this is a very deep question. Why did the Buddha allow dark chocolate and ghee and nothing else to eat? For years I went through all those suttas and tried to find out the answers. It's not real ghee, but that most monks don't really like ghee, but they like cheese. So why did the Buddha allow cheese but not milk? I don't know. But the reason why, I don't know if I'll get in trouble by saying this, why the Buddha, or why we allow cheese over here in Jhana Grove. Do you have cheese over in the main hall? Yeah. We don't allow it in Bodhinyana Monastery. So if a monk is really packaged for some cheese, they come over here. But they have to eat it and finish it before they get back into Bodhinyana Monastery. The reason why that we kind of argue that cheese is allowable is because Ajahn Mun allowed cheese. And Ajahn Mun was kind of, the teacher of Ajahn Chah and a lot of other forest monks. So because we know that he did it, then that's our excuse. It's just an excuse. But in the end, look, if a monk is having a hard time, or a nun having a hard time, and they need a bit extra to eat, then I'm so soft these days. Yeah, if you need some cheese, okay, off you go. Take some. And dark chocolate, it hasn't got milk in it, and the only reason why dark chocolate was allowed was because it was not disallowed. They never had chocolate in those days. So there's nothing to say you can't have it, so it's allowed. Honestly, that's just about the extent of it. I took it seriously for so many years. Would you like dark chocolate? Yes, if you like dark chocolate, take some. It gives you something to eat in the afternoon or evening. Instead of having a meal or having anything which is like like noodles, or always has got rice or flour in it, or potato in it. That's usually, very clearly, that's the food. So that's not allowable. But people make all sorts of amazing things with these allowable stuff or half allowable stuff. And especially, I remember over in England, some of those young monks, it's amazing what they could create. You know, what was some of the weird stuff they would create over there? And, you know, it wasn't the real thing of, ice cream. They made ice cream. I don't know what they made it out of. I think coffee mate and sugar and I don't know what else. They were really inventive. And it's not good for you at all. But, you know, they were just saying, well, you know, these are the things we can allow, and they made it taste like ice cream. It made it sick, but it was nice to take. Okay. So anyway, that's that question unanswered. Money is good or bad? The answer to that question? Good, bad? Who knows? I don't know. Haven't had money in years. How to find middle path with money? Thank you. I don't know how to find a middle path with money. I know that sometimes that money can make some people greedy. And that's all they tend to think about. What's the purpose of money? The purpose of money is just so that you can find, I always say, the four requisites, which is, you know, food, get yourself a nice meal. You know, for monks, you know, it used to be the case, there's so much food in Australia that it's very easy to go on alms round and people will donate some food to you. You know, to get robes. And these robes are they last such a long time. And they're multi-use. And this robe is also not a blanket, but a bed sheet for me as well. So, you know, I sleep under this. It's a bed sheet. It's obviously the robe, you know, to keep me looking reasonably well covered and respectable. And I also mentioned to you that it's also my emergency equipment if ever I'm traveling, which I go flying in aircraft quite a lot these days, going to places like Hong Kong or going to Indonesia. And if that aircraft has any trouble and you have to evacuate at 30,000 feet, I've already got it well planned. I hold on to each corner, the four corners of this rope. It's really big and very tough, and you'll be able to use it as a parachute. And if you actually fall, and say in the Middle East, where some very strict Muslim countries, again, I'll just put a slot, put it on here, or just up here, put a little slot in here, it'd be like a burqa. They wouldn't know it's Ajahn Brahm underneath. Think I could get away with that? I think any sort of Taliban or something which tries to arrest me, they'll probably die laughing before they can middle path with money. But, you know, sometimes these days, you know, you don't have to touch money anymore. You know the donation boxes which have you seen the donation boxes here? Are they empty? Most of they are. Because people don't actually donate with coins or notes anymore. Which is weird. No, times are changing. If they want to make a donation, they usually just get online. Tip, tip, tip. One of the things I have seen, which I thought was really interesting, you know, if you want to make a donation on these machines, you get out your credit card and you just tap. And I was a bit concerned, honestly was concerned, because some of the people who make donations got Parkinson's disease. Tap, 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 tap. Their bank account will disappear. It's not our fault. They just keep tapping because they've got Parkinson's disease. I like actually seeing the causes and effects of things. Like I remember in Thailand, whenever you used to put any incense in the bowl, we don't really have incense these days because it is bad for the health. It's like the same as smoking cigarettes. This is smoking incense. And it's really a bit unhealthy. So I remember in the old days though, in Thailand, they'd only ever put 3 incense sticks, as an offering to the Buddha. But I've seen, like in Hong Kong and in many parts of Indonesia as well, you put a whole 100 of them in there. You light them, and then what do? You shake them first of all. And I was kind of fascinated. Why do people shake the incense before they put them into the bowl? Because they never do that in Thailand. And I kind of thought, I use science, I figured it out. And the reason is because when you first went to a Buddhist temple, wasn't it the case you were taken to the temple when you were a young girl or young boy, and you were told what to do by your grandma? Your dear old grandma will take you in there. And she would shake them because she had Parkinson's. And you thought that's what you had to do. So 1 or 2 grandmas with Parkinson's, and that started a whole tradition of shaking the incense. Anyway, okay. I can't resist this story. Oh, I'm not doing. No, I'm going to have to leave some for tomorrow. Great. No, I'll try and answer them all. Did I tell the suicidal spider story?
Not yet.
Okay. This is a very topical issue because this is when people get depressed. So once there was a spider, and this spider is just freshly born. And he must have learnt it from her father or her mum, but then she went to build a house for herself in a nice corner of a room. Of course, that's where spiders have to build their abodes, a nice spider web in a corner. And what do you do if you see there's a spider web in the corner of your house? What would you do? Aren't you Buddhists? Leave it alone. It's just a spider. And the spider doesn't do any harm. What it does is catch the mosquitoes and the flies and other things you don't like. So anyway, this particular spider, she was very, very mindful, really careful. She had a lot of patience and a lot of skill too. She built the most beautiful spider web that's ever existed. It was an architectural masterpiece. It was so beautiful. I often say that if there was a magazine for the architecture of webs in Indonesia, she would win the first prize. It was a stunning web. And so she worked so hard on it, and then eventually when it was finished, she sat in the middle, exhausted but waiting for lunch. And after being so careful, building the first home. Have you ever done that? You got your first home, you help with the design, and you move in at the first day. That's what this little spider felt. So proud but tired. And then the maid came, saw it, smashed it to bits. And the spider was lucky to escape with her life. Imagine what that must feel. But of course the spider has to have a house, somewhere to rest and somewhere to live and catch food. So it went to the house next door and built another web. Nowhere near as amazing as the first web, but she needed one, so she did it, and now she was really exhausted. And they hadn't eaten, hadn't slept, so she was really tired. But then she finished her second web, sat in the middle, waiting for lunch. And then a man who owned the house saw it, took a stick and destroyed that as well, and tried to kill the spider as well. And that spider ran away a second time. And the same thing happened on the next house, and the fourth house, and the fifth house, and the sixth house, and the seventh house. Is 7 a lucky number in... Actually, Korea is a bad number. I'd say 8th house. After running away from the 8th house, that was enough. Even the thought of going into the corner of a vacant house gave this poor spider post-traumatic stress disorder. You can understand why. It's very dangerous for spiders to enter people's houses. So she gave up on even the hope of building herself a house. And so she was walking down one of the streets in Jakarta. She was just so upset, so depressed. No one loves spiders. Why? They don't mean any harm to people. They don't sort of poison things or carry diseases. And so this poor spider was getting more and more depressed. As she was getting depressed, she realized no one loves spiders. Spiders are just always struggle just to find a place to stay and also to find enough food. And so the spider got depressed. You sure I didn't tell the story before? About...
Yes, but not this time.
Not this time, okay. So this poor spider, she decided to commit suicide. So she tried to walk under people's shoes. On purpose. And she always found these ladies with these high heels, which has a lot of space underneath the foot. She never made the soles or the pointy part of the heel. She was always in between. And then she thought, this isn't working. So she decided to walk across the road and to get under the traffic. You know what it's like in Jakarta. The traffic was always jammed. Even the traffic wasn't moving, so she couldn't commit suicide that way. So this poor spider really gave up. What's the point? When you're really depressed, you can't even commit suicide either, you're so hopeless. And then she was walking down one of the streets like a drunken person. That's how depressed she was. And then, I think many people I ask, have you ever had this experience that you feel that somebody's looking at you? And so she turned around. Something was looking at her. On the side of the road was the biggest, fattest, happiest spider she'd ever seen. The spider was fat, and was happy, wasn't depressed. It's obviously well rested. So the suicidal spider said, how come you're so fat? I haven't had anything to eat almost since I was born. And the big fat spider said, really? Didn't you sort of catch anything in the web you first made? No, I made a web, but it was destroyed straight away. 8 times I did that. 8 times it was destroyed. Oh, that's really terrible. Didn't that happen to you? Asked the suicidal spider to the fat jolly spider. And the fat jolly spider said, no, not at all. I've only built one web in my whole life. And it's still there. And at that, the thin suicidal spider had a bit of hope. But you know, when people give you hope like that, you always kind of feel this must be some kind of scam. What do you want? And the big fat happy spider said, I don't want anything, but I just feel so sad about you. You haven't got a place to stay. Look, my web is big enough that you can live in there as well as long as you like. If you want to leave any time, you can. And we catch enough food in that web enough for both of us. And a few more as well. And the suicidal spider thought, where in Jakarta can you build a web where people leave you alone and you have enough food there to feed more than yourself? You're obviously eating well. And that's when the big fat happy spider said, oh, I built my web in the donation box of Ehipasiko Foundation. No one ever disturbs you in there. Is that true, Kartika? You don't have any anymore. That's being cruel to the spiders. Online. How can a spider live online? The next time I go over there, I'm going to tell Hannah to go off. You need to get a donation box, just so the spiders can live. But we've got a donation box, haven't we? Yeah, but we've got the donation. Have we still got the donation box in the kitchen? Oh, in the dining room? Yeah. Has anyone ever put any money in it? No. So it's a great place for spiders. Go and have a look in there. You feel all these big, fat, happy spiders in that box. I don't get into this. I don't know. Dear Bhante, we all know that false truth or lying can cause a few karmas. But if it is for a greater purpose, as if to prevent someone from a heartbreak, grief or despair, will these karmas still be recovered or be received, like not compensated? A lot of times, you still have to get that karma. We think that, because if it's karma, what karma is, said the Buddha, karma is concerned with your intentions. It's more like why you do things rather than what you do. So if the karma is really for good intention, you want to do this, to save many people's lives, or to make the world a happy place, then that good karma there is from good intentions. And then a lot of times people deceive themselves. They feel, yes, the world needs to do this. The world needs a Mr. Trump. So he thinks. They've deceived themselves into thinking they're acting out of good intentions when they're not. So it's dangerous. But one thing with false truth or lying, it means that you lose your credibility in future. And if you do lie, people don't trust you anymore. And that's one of the reasons I have to be really careful, because many of you have got confidence and faith in me. So I always have to tell the truth. That's one of the reasons why I thought it was really important that when, about 20, 30 years ago, there was a lot of monks in Thailand, it's even some forest monks, had mistresses. So one evening at Dhammaloka, I think, these are the people who've been supporting me for years. I have to be honest with them. They needed to know the truth. So one evening, stop laughing at you, Bob. I put my head down and I said, it's about time I made a confession. And I said, looking down, there was a full house at Dhammaloka that weekend, and I said, I spent some of the happiest hours of my life, in the loving arms of another man's wife. Another man's wife. We loved each other. We kissed, we hugged. That's true. I must be really cool monk, because I just waited for people to start thinking about that. And a few people went for the door. They weren't going to come back again. And then I explained, that woman, the other man's wife, that was my mum. She was married to my dad. He was another man's wife. And we loved each other. Of course you love your mum. And we hugged and kissed. This was before I became a monk. I loved her very much. I spent some of the most wonderful years of my life in the loving arms of another man's wife. And I said that because how easy it is to accuse somebody you don't really know, you misunderstand. You know, I don't think anyone would criticize me for that. So anyway, that's my confession. I have a little worm creature. Oh, that worm. That's the Afghan millipedes. That has made its way to my room. We have become good friends, but I'm wondering if I should put it outside because it might die in the room. I may have lost its way. But if I put it out, it may get trampled on or die of the cold. Should I interfere? I have its best interests at heart, but my decision may not be right. In such a situation, what should I do? Put it in the donation box. It's nice. Are you part of the Indonesian or Hong Kong group? If you're part of the Indonesian group, Freddie's hut, where's your hut?
I won't help you.
You can find where Freddie's hut is from Della, and if it's a Hong Kong person has befriended this, then put it in Della's hut.
That's beside Cottage One.
Not my hut. So if you befriended it, leave it there. Befriend it, but it does need some water. I don't know exactly what it eats, but then just a lot of time it'll just crawl out by itself. So I don't know what to do there. I'll leave that to you for your kindness. I'm getting close. It's 9:03. I'm going to finish the questions tonight. This is a miracle. Okay, does meal after sunrise and before noon mean that food must be consumed after sunrise time of the country you are in? Per sunrise time is about 7:17 a.m. Can we have a meal before the sunrise time, or do we have to eat it till after 7:17? Wait until after 7:17 a.m. to eat. It's not the sunrise time, it's the dawn time, the first light of the day. It's a time when you can actually start seeing things, the first light in the sky. And that is usually, if you look, even tomorrow morning, towards the east and see the dawn, and that is usually about 6:30 or something. Is that right? But anyway, so that's when we can start eating. I know that sometimes you go looking in the east to see if it's light enough yet to eat, especially when you're very, very hungry. But that's the rules, especially for monks. So, and you can eat until noon. And the solar noon, that's always actually reported. It's very easy to go online and find the exact time of solar noon. And that's in the country where you are living. But what happens, say, like Ajahn Brahmali, he may be doing a retreat in Norway. Right now, this time of year, the sun doesn't go down. The sun doesn't rise, it just goes around the horizon. It's light all day and night in the Arctic Circle, 24 hours a day. I remember going up there when I was a student. It was weird, because you didn't know when to go to sleep. It was light all day. or what time it was night time. I hadn't got a clue. I remember I had a tent, and when I was tired, I was hitchhiking. When I was tired, I set up the tent and go to sleep. I didn't care what time of the day it was. 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I start sleeping, because it was just light all the time. So that makes things very interesting. So monks who are really greedy, they can go to Norway and they can eat all the time. For about 3 months of the year, there's no restrictions. Eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. But when it comes to winter time, it's dark for 3 months of the year, which means you can't eat at all. So when I told Ajahn Brahmada, I said, it's easy to solve. For 3 months of the year, I really eat over in Norway. And then for the dark 3 months of the year, I go to Antarctica, down south. And I can eat for 3 months there. And in between, I just eat normal, like he does these days. Is that a good plan? I get fatter and fatter and fatter. But sometimes I remember my preceptor said, well, what are you eating for anyway? Just get enough energy in your tummy. That's all you think about. Not how you can keep this rule and that rule and every other rule. But we also have the rules that all food has to be offered before you eat it. I remember seeing this. The one monk had made a mistake when I first ordained in Bangkok. One monk had made a mistake and he ate some food thinking it had been offered at the right time, but it hadn't been offered yet. So the food which was inside her tummy hadn't been properly offered. And he thought this amazing solution for it. He got one of the novice monks to pick him up, his whole body, and offer his whole body to another monk, which meant even the food in his tummy had also been offered. It's crazy. When you saw that, I think, well, come on. Okay. Dear Ajahn, how do we develop letting go in our daily life when we are not meditating? That's an easy question. What you do, you look at the time, it's 8 minutes past 9. I've done pretty well so far, haven't I? So you're not meditating now. So isn't it now a nice exercise in letting go? To let Ajahn Brahm go. So I can go back to my room and take a rest. Is that letting go? Yes. Yeah, okay. There's many wonderful things about, to let go of things worthy of letting go. Okay, the story I'm now going to tell, that, because I ordained when I was only 23 years of age. 23. Very young man. And so, my mother, she was very kind and caring to let me go and live in Thailand for 7 years before I went to see her. So every time I went to visit her, I was always trying to be kind to her. And I think when I went to visit her from Australia the first time, I took her a little, these stuffed bears, which I think is very beautiful. I gave her a little stuffed kangaroo. And she put it on the shelf in her front room. And said, this is to remind you of me. And she thought it was really sweet. And then the next time I went to visit, I had a little koala bear. And I gave that to her. So she put that right next to her kangaroo. And then I gave her a kookaburra. And they put that right next to the other two animals. And then the next animal, I forget what that was. I know a wombat was one of them. And the wombat was really big. And so she tried to balance that on the shelf. But by now, the thing started falling off. She couldn't actually fit it in. And I said, well, look, just give some of them away. No! You bought it for me. And it reminds me of you. They're not going anywhere. They're going in that shelf. And she was spending about an hour balancing everything on that shelf. She managed it. And then the next time I came, they were all still there, and I gave her something else, a platypus. And then, no, this little toy. And then she realised she couldn't put all that on her shelf, together with the letters and the bills which she had. So everything kept falling off. I said, that's a wonderful simile for like a nervous breakdown. You try to keep so many things inside your head. There's no room in there. So the thing to do is let it go. I said, look, all those old toys, you can actually give them up to some of your friends, auction them or something, and then just keep one, the latest one. Then you'll always have space on that shelf for the newest one. And eventually that's what she had to do. You had to let things go to enjoy what's right in front of you now. Otherwise, you've got no space for anything. And do you ever feel like cramped in your life? Your poor old brain is just struggling to remember everything. That's why many of you, especially when you have like Chinese names, it's really hard for me to remember who you are. So when you asked me, you said, do you remember me? Of course I do. I've seen you many times before. But do you know what my name is? I said, yeah. You're the one whose name I keep forgetting. I work out all these excuses. Excellent. Okay, so that's 12 minutes past 9. It's not bad. Every question has been attended to. No more questions. I should do this. I love doing this. This is called letting go. Empty. Yeah, thank you. Is there any questions off the cuff, as they say, which I didn't answer properly? Going. Gone. Okay. Great. So see you in the morning. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Did we announce actually what we're doing tomorrow morning?
If the weather is good, there's sun, and the people follow after.
Okay. So the first session of the talk, 8 to 9, then we're not sure yet whether there'll be a photo session or the interviews.
No interviews.
No interviews tomorrow morning.
No, because you got to go back.
Yeah, I've got something. I've got to receive calls from the nuns tomorrow. But that only starts at maybe 10:15. No, 10:10. But we'll wait and see, so the future is undecided. Good, bad, who knows? It's anicca. We'll see what happens. We'll check the weather tomorrow morning. And we'll announce. Very good.